Why, hello everybody, it's GleeCon, and I am here once again bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. And as always, I thank you for tuning in. On our most recent episode, I read the last chapter of Warcraft Durotan. So we're doing a long play, a read-through of the novel. This is a non-canon novel because it's the prequel novel to the Warcraft movie, the cinematographic alternate universe. And in that chapter, Durotan rode, not Durotan, well, he did, but him and his father, Garad, rode out to fight some orcs that were interloping on the Frost Wolf land, and it looks like he was taken out and he realized he was betrayed, most likely by Gul'dan, or not really betrayed, but kind of done dirty by him. Normally I would have done a long play episode yesterday. I had a long burn the midnight oil, 15-hour workday yesterday, so I did not have the time. So I don't know if I'll be able to catch up, but I wanted to at least get an episode in here, squeeze one in tonight as well. So without further ado, we're going to jump to Chapter 6 of Warcraft Durotan. Stay a while and listen. Ice needed no rider other than the corpse of his master. The great frost wolf had howled piteously when Garad fell, and had rushed in to swiftly and bloodily dispatch his murderer. Now Ice stood trembling as Durotan lashed his father's body to the wolf's strong back. Orc and wolf eyes met, and Durotan saw his own grief reflected in Ice's great amber orbs. Most orc clans regarded the wolves they rode as mere beasts, mounts, and nothing more. Less important in some cases than a weapon born into battle, because living things could die and not be bequeathed to one's offspring. The Frostwolves had never felt so. These animals chose their masters, not the other way around, and they stayed with them until their bond was broken by death. Ice would grieve, not as an orc would, but it would be true grief nonetheless. Durotan wondered if Ice would ever permit himself to be ridden again. Compassion for the great beast, and for his mother, to whom he must bear the wrenching news, threatened to crush Durotan's heart. He allowed himself a single moment to feel the loss. Father, friend, teacher, chieftain. Life was harsh in Frostfire Ridge, and had only grown harsher with the passage of time. It was not unnatural for a father to pass before a child. It was the manner of Garad's passing that was the heaviest burden to bear. Garad had been a wise, strong, successful leader of his people for many years. He did not deserve to have such a cloud over him. Durotan and many others had borne witness as Garad died, unable to keep his grip on Sever. Durotan was now the leader of the Frostwolves, for the moment at least, and they were all looking to him. Once he felt his father was secured for his final ride back to Frostfire Ridge, he turned away from Ice to survey the party. "Today we rose to meet a challenge," he said. "And meet it we did. We were victorious. Our foes lie stiffening in the snow, and we have eliminated a threat to our clan. But this victory was not without cost. We have lost Garad, son of Durkosh, son of Rokuk, our clan leader. He died as any Frostwolf warrior would wish, in battle, courageously protecting his clan from a clear enemy." He paused, his nostrils flaring, ready to quash any wayward comment to the contrary. There was none, though the snow groaned softly as some orcs shifted uneasily, not meeting Durotan's gaze. "We will bear him home in silence. As his son, I am his heir unless the spirits deem me unworthy, or unless I am challenged," he thought. He did not say it aloud. He could not help it if that idea had already occurred to anyone, but he would not plant the seed himself. But even so, the shadow was there. Garad had fallen when he should not have, and that presaged poorly for Durotan and for the Frostwolves. Determination chased away his grief. As Durotan leaped atop Sharptooth in the midst of all the swirling chaos, he knew one thing. He would do all that was within his power to honor and clear the name of a great orc. Garad had been a long-lived chieftain, and therefore few present had witnessed the ritual that was about to unfold. Every member of the Frostwolf clan, from the greyest orc to the smallest suckling child, had gone to the special circle that Drekthar had instructed be designed. It was not too far from the village, but a distance away in an open area that was large enough so that all could bear witness. Durotan realized with a pang that, while the area would see grief tonight, it was the same site where the clan would be dancing to celebrate midsummer. Garad's body had been placed on a pyre. It had required most of the wood the clan had stockpiled. Durotan mused bitterly on the irony that it had been a search for firewood that had led to the need for it now. It all felt so horribly wrong. 4 days ago they had never heard of a green orc named Gul'dan. Only this morning Garad had yet breathed, and the clan was blissfully ignorant of the true horror of the Red Walkers. Durotan wondered if he would ever be able to get the stench of dried blood out of his nostrils. Garad's body had been bathed, but the hole in his chest still yawned open. Like scars on living flesh, the wounds of the slain granted them honor. If an orc fell fighting in battle or in the hunt, the injuries that took his or her life were left to show everyone what had been endured for the clan's well-being. Garad wore the armor in which he had fallen, damaged from the blows that had claimed his life. It sent a pang through the young orc to see his father's limbs, so very motionless. The younger shaman who served Drekthar were placing stones in a ring around the pyre, leaving a space for Durotan to enter. The stones were held, chanted to, and laid down with great reverence. Durotan could feel the energy building, increasing as each clan member came to sit around the circle in silence. Finally, the circle was almost complete. Drekthar had been standing quietly to the side, one hand on Wise Ear. Now, the wolf moved into the ring of sanctified stones, guiding his master inside. Drekthar dismissed the wolf with a soft word and a pat, then straightened. "Frostwolves," he cried, "we know that our way of life is worth fighting for, and today our warriors did so. Most returned to us victorious, but one did not live to join us again in this life. For any warrior who died, we would mourn and honor his sacrifice, and this we will do, but we are gathered for another reason as well. The orc who fell today was our chieftain, Garad, son of Durkosh, son of Rokuk, and so we must also seek the blessing of the spirits of air, earth, water, fire, and life upon his son, Durotan." Oh, this is all supposed to be Drekthar, sorry, wrong voice. "That he might lead us as well and wisely as his father did." There were no murmurs, not quite. The rite was too profound for such disrespect, but there was an aversion of eyes, a subtle shift of movement among the crowd that made Durotan's anger rise. He ignored it, keeping his gaze fixed on Drekthar and awaiting the signal to move into the circle. But it was for Durotan's mother that the shaman called first. His voice was gentle as he said, "Gia, daughter of Zungal, daughter of Kerzug, you are Garad's mate in life. The hand that loved best is the one that must light the fire." Gia's normally braided hair hung long and unbound, falling almost to her waist. Her body was straight as the pines as she strode forward. Only Durotan, who knew her so well, could see the shimmer of unshed tears in her eyes. Later she would weep. Later they both would, alone, with their pain. But for now, with this bitter pall like a stain upon the memory of a beloved mate and father, they had to embody strength. If the spirits feel as some members of the clan do, no. He would not give such thoughts even a heartbeat's worth of attention. Garad had been a great orc chieftain. Durotan knew he had done nothing himself to disrespect his family, his clan, or the spirits. All would be well. It had to be. His fingers curled into fists. "Durotan, son of Garad, son of Durkosh, come forward into the circle. Be judged by the spirits our people have honored since time began, and which will be, even when we are forgotten, no mouths sing our names." Out of the corner of his eye, Durotan saw Orgrim staring intently at him. The other orc slowly, deliberately put his fist to his broad chest and lifted his chin in a show of respect. After a moment, a few others followed, then still more, until by the time the younger shaman had closed the circle with sacred stones, the entire clan had saluted Garad's son. Durotan threw Orgrim a grateful look, then settled himself for what would come. Drekthar had told him nothing of the experience, saying logically enough that as it had never happened to him, he could not properly say, and and I suspect that it is different for everyone, he had added. I'm not sure how that. One thing Durotan did know is that while the spirits would be evaluating him, they would simultaneously be in communication with Drekthar. Drekthar held a bundle of smoke leaf. Dried and tightly braided, the plant gave off a sweet scent when burned. It burned now, slow to be consumed, and the smoke wafted lazily upward. Durotan approached and knelt before the shaman, who held the braid of long grass with one hand and waved the smoke over Durotan with the other. It smelled good, clean, and fresh. Drekthar handed the smoke leaf to Palkar, his attendant shaman. A third shaman, Relkarg, extended a cup to Durotan. He drank it down. The liquid was hot and thick, sweet from the sap that the trees wept. He returned the empty cup to Relkarg and waited for more instructions. "Sit now, young one," Drekthar said. There was a great affection in his voice. He and Garrett had been close, and the shaman too was doubtless wrestling with how to manage the sudden void. "The spirits come when they will." Durotan obeyed. Now he felt his eyelids growing heavy. He let them close. Then they flew open. In years past, Durotan had seen the night skies in winter shimmer with colors that seemed made of mist. The visions before him, undulating with equal tranquility, resembled that exquisite celestial display, but only as a sapling resembled an ancient tree. Durotan gasped in awe, reaching without thinking as a child might toward the phantasms. Green, red, blue, and yellow, they danced before him, but he knew they were not physically present. They were in his mind, in his ears and eyes and blood and bone. They darted and hovered, so very real, but he knew that what he experienced was for him alone. In his vision, the snow beneath him evaporated, and the dancing colors faded, melting along with it. Durotan sat on good, solid earth, held and supported as a babe in his mother's arms. Wonderingly, he placed his hands on the ground and dug in his fingers deeply. His hands came up with rich loam. Durotan smiled, then gave a surprised, unrestrained laugh as a sprightly breeze came out of nowhere and scattered the handfuls of soil. The zephyr, laden with the scent of fresh new grass, caressed him. He felt his lungs release their tightness as he breathed in. The air whirled and began to take on colors. They were not the same soft fey tones that had danced before his eyes earlier, but bright, strong hues. Sharp flickers of red, orange, white, and blue formed, and a fire suddenly crackled around him. His face had been growing numb from the cold, and Durotan welcomed the warmth of the flames. Without fire, no frost wolf could survive. It was dear to them, and the spirit of fire seemed to know that. Something wet touched his cheek. Fat white flakes drifted down, and the flames spat and hissed at them. Though he missed the fire's warmth, Durotan was content to let it surrender its place to the spirit of water. What was a frost wolf without frost, anyway? Ice and snow were part of what made them unique, made them strong. Water cleansed and purified it, quenched thirst, and even filled one's eyes and slipped down one's face, as it did now. Water soothed and healed, and Durotan accepted its gentleness in this form as he accepted its harshness in others. The shimmering hues that were real, not real, began to swirl, chasing one another as a pup chased its tail, so fast that they soon began to blur. A white brilliance exploded in front of Durotan, so strong and beautiful that he could not bear to look upon it. Earth, air, fire, water, they had all come, and now they welcomed the greatest of all, the spirit of life. He had been numb since his father's fall, since he had watched, unable to reach Garrett in time, as the Frostwolf chieftain died weaponless. He had tamped his emotions down to appear strong in front of the clan, but now he could do so no longer. His senses were vibrantly, painfully alive. His heart swelled with love and torment, so much that he thought he could not bear it. How could any single being— "But you are not," came a whisper in his mind. "You are experiencing life with all its joys and fears and horrors and losses and blessings and power. You wish to stand as chieftain for your people. Hold all this just for a moment, and you will be worthy of them. They fear and lust and laugh and weep and live. Know it, Durotan, son of Garad. Know it and honor it." Durotan felt himself being stretched, reshaped, molded to hold more than he had ever been meant to. He was but one orc. What else was a chieftain, if not the caretaker of his people? And how could he act for them if he did not truly feel them? Trembling with fear, Durotan accepted the test of life. He was filled, more than filled. He had become so vast that he... And then it was gone. They were all gone. He opened his eyes to a world that seemed oddly flat and devoid of color. His heart slammed against his chest, his lungs heaved, but Durotan was himself again, alone. For a moment, the isolation was too much to take. It was as hard to endure as the fullness of his clan had been, but eventually that sensation too dissipated. His gaze focused. He saw his mother standing by his father's pyre, a slight smile curving her lips. Her eyes were no longer wet with grief, but fierce with pride. Durotan, dizzy as the spirits left him, took in the sight of faces that were as familiar as his own reflection in a pool of water, but now also strange to him, new in their sudden precious beauty, their vibrant essence of life. The Frostwolves had followed his father. Now they would follow him. He would do what was best for them, as Garad had always striven to do. Durotan tried to speak, but his heart was so full of a tumult of emotions that he couldn't find the words. "The spirits have accepted you, Durotan, son of Garad, son of Durkosh," came Drekthar's voice. "Do you, Frostwolves?" The answering cheers were deafening. Durotan got to his feet. He raised his hands, curled into fists, into the air, arching backward as he cried out in joy and hope. After the cry had subsided, the new Frostwolf chieftain, his ears ringing and his heart overflowing, turned to Drekthar. It was only as he gazed at the shaman's solemn visage that Durotan realized that, although they had approved of him, all was not well in the world of the spirits. And that's how we conclude this chapter. So any tiny little shred, glimmer of hope that the last chapter left us with maybe Garad having a moment more in the book, that's smashed, that's over. And I suppose now that we knew Durotan would become the chieftain of the Frostwolves, because he is in the other stories that we've read that lead up to the eventual birth of the real hero of the Horde, Thrall. So we know there has to be things. And they've honestly covered kind of parallels of this story, or at least different parts of it, in Christy Golden's other book, The Lord of the Clans. So it'd be curious to kind of read them one after the other. If you want to watch those, I read the other one already on the video, but so far I don't see anything that's really in contradiction, other than that one thing I mentioned about the shamans before. If you liked what you had today, let me know. Put a comment, like, subscribe, join up, check out the other videos, and if you really like it, check out what we do on the Patreon. Same service for Assassin's Creed, that whole franchise. I thank you everybody so much for watching, tuning, listening in. Sorry about the missed episode yesterday. But yeah, keep on supporting me. Maybe one day I won't have to work mega days for no extra pay. Thank you guys. This episode in the pipe, 5x5.